As financial institutions scale rapidly in size and complexity, the role of people systems becomes even more critical. From your vantage point, what truly defines an inclusive organization today?
I think true inclusion really is the question that we can ask. Who thrives in this organization and who quietly struggles?
Within a large financial institution, how have you seen the meaning of leadership evolve as the organization has grown larger?
We're moving from not only decisioning, it went actually to influencing. We also worked on a lot of thought process from control to trust.
If we don't train them well, and that's the biggest challenge. Insurance is all about, at the time of claim, are you there?
What is one people or culture capability that we can talk about that institutions must invest in today to build a better tomorrow?
AI will not replace jobs, but you will be replaced by somebody who can use AI very well. So we need to prepare people and learning agility, therefore, across the board.
What is the one mindset shift organizations must make to ensure this diversity and also to remain future ready?
Never wait to raise your hand. You should speak. Whichever room you're in, I think you have a voice and you're capable.
Hi, I'm Abha Bakaya. Welcome to the Luminaries, where we seek to illuminate, influence, and inspire through the insights and conversations with the biggest leaders from India's financial and insurance sector. As financial institutions grow larger, faster, and more complex, the definition of leadership is being fundamentally rewritten. Performance and scale still matter, but they are no longer sufficient. Leadership today is equally about people systems, culture, inclusion, frontline empowerment, and building talent that can sustain growth over time. This conversation brings together leaders who have operated at the intersection of growth, people, partnerships, and execution, and who have seen firsthand how leadership must evolve as organizations scale. In today's episode, we are exploring the financial institution of tomorrow, people, culture, and scale. A conversation about leadership beyond balance sheets, about culture as a competitive advantage, and about how large institutions stay human while operating at scale. With over 3 decades of experience across business and human resources, Geeta George, Senior Executive Vice President of HR, is currently leading the Center of Excellence in Organization Effectiveness, Inclusion and Diversity, HR Data and Analytics, HR Operations, and Talent Acquisition. The Regional Human Resource Business Partnering Team also rolls up into her at HDFC Bank, a strong advocate for an inclusive culture and women leadership. Geeta champions building future-ready organizations where people and purpose drive long-term impact. We're so happy to have you on the panel, Geeta.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Saloni Bhatia, a seasoned banking leader with over 25 years of experience and currently serving as Executive Vice President at HDFC Bank. Over her long career, she has navigated multiple roles and responsibilities, building deep expertise in banking and financial services. As a woman leader in a traditionally demanding industry, Saloni's journey reflects resilience, adaptability, and the growing influence of women shaping leadership and decision-making in Indian banking. So glad to have you here with us, Saloni. So much. We'd also like to welcome Lavneesh Gupta, Chief Bancassurance Officer at HDFC Life, with almost 3 decades of experience across banking, insurance, and financial services. Leading one of the company's most critical growth engines, he's played a key role in building large, diverse teams and inclusive frontline ecosystems across bancassurance. His leadership reflects how inclusive organizational practices are central to sustainable scale and impact in the insurance industries. Welcome, Lavneesh.
Thank you, Abha.
Let's kickstart this conversation with you, Geeta. And let me put the first question to you. As financial institutions scale rapidly in size and complexity, the role of people systems becomes even more critical. From your vantage point, what truly defines an inclusive organization today?
Well, I know we are tracking percentages and representations in organizations, and Globally, there is a struggle on counting the number of percentage of women who are in senior levels, in middle management, in junior levels, etc. We track persons with disability, and in India, across organizations now, there is a focus on how we can have more persons with disability work alongside other employees and thrive. So while all of this is getting tracked from a metric point of view, I think a true inclusion really is the question that we can ask: who thrives in this organization and who quietly struggles? And the answer to that question will define how inclusive we are.
Right.
And there are few things, I think 3 things that come to my mind that really define whether organizations are truly inclusive.
Okay.
One is whether inclusion is inbuilt in the talent decisions that the organization makes. Who you hire, who you promote, who you give the plum portfolios to, who gets to have a say.
Sure.
I think intrinsically that sends a message on inclusion. The second big thing is psychological safety.
Okay.
Can people genuinely admit to having made a mistake without repercussions? Can they expose vulnerabilities without getting penalized? Can they speak up and challenge a senior or a status quo, established status quo in the organization? I think that fundamentally also defines inclusion intrinsically. And the last big one is that not just who gets to sit on the table, but whose voice is heard, right? So when an opinion or a decision is taken, when people speak up, our bias is getting played on deciding whose voice is heard and acted upon versus a representation of different faces in the room.
So well said.
Yeah.
Thanks for articulating that, Geeta. Saloni, now having spent almost 3 decades within a large financial institution, how have you seen the meaning of leadership evolve as the organization has grown larger? Through those phases and larger, faster, how has it been to handle that scale?
Yes, we've evolved lots, and I think we'll continue to keep evolving. Nothing stops in evolvement. But if I have to put down a couple of things which I've seen over the last 3 decades and how it's functioned from a very small bank to such a big, large bank right now, I think what was very important is we moving from not only decisioning, it went actually to influencing. So in the past, you might do a decision-based thought process all the time, right? Because you're small and you're just about to scale up. As we started scaling up, it made more sense and a lot of importance given that how you're influencing the outcomes through people and not only by the positions. So I think that made a lot of difference. And we also worked on a lot of thought process from control to trust. Control was yes, we are very strong on processes, we are very strong on products, and we've been building ethics and everything, right? It was all about empowering people, giving capabilities out, and ensuring the right and the capable people lead the positions. So that made us grow larger and more fonder. I think hitting the number was always there in the bank, right? But what has been the change and evolvement is how strong we are on ethics, cultural behavior, and the business acumen which took us there.
Amazing. And Saloni, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we keep saying 30 years, it means your entire growth journey must have been here.
Almost.
Right? Yeah. So I think that
I'm still young.
Yeah. Because that gives you a very unique perspective,
Yeah.
in terms of stages. Lavneesh, now bank assurance sits at the intersection of scale, partnerships, frontline execution. So from your perspective as well, what does it take to ensure that, the organization and an individual grows responsibly and also keeps both people, culture, as well as customer trust intact?
So I think bank assurance is a culmination between banking, which is a bank, and insurance company coming together. Over a period of time, the products have, from being opaque, have become more transparent. From a customer sense, it's much more better in terms of either return or in terms of the premiums being paid for it is, being worked upon as an industry. Uh, Having said that, I think people, when we look at it, if we don't train them well, and that's the biggest challenge, because coming in and understanding a complex product like insurance is not easy for everyone. So, how much do we invest time to the frontline team in terms of training them on the right product? KPIs, which is the key performance indicators, is it linked to top line, or is it looking at the, how much is the net promoter score, number of complaints coming out of it? Uh, how do you engage with customers in terms of the life cycle of the customer? And how much do you cross sell to the same customer? Because if the customer is being cross sold, shows the faith and the trust in the product which is there. Plus, I think both the institution, which is HDFC Bank and HDFC Life, has tried to build with the factor that insurance is all about at the time of claim, are you there? And COVID has been the biggest example for that. Being amongst the top two players of standing when the customer needs it, at 99.8% claims being paid.
Wow.
Which is a sign that we are standing as a customer trust and for which you bought the product. So it's the evolution. How do you engage with your own people, train them well, tell them what are the right products, and now with the evolution of technology and data, how do you use that to build a customer propensity to sell the right products? I think these are the factors which are, through the culture, through the training, and through the right engagement matrix, is what will build that customer trust and larger scales which will happen for future.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that statistic with us as well. So, Geeta, coming back to you from your experience in building talent and leadership frameworks, where do organizations most often need assistance in enabling women to grow into leadership roles? And what design shifts would you suggest that would actually make a difference?
Yeah, so one of our, not only for us, globally, a
Yes.
problem is the middle rung. And while we have a large base of women employees joining the front end teams, as they funnel up the ranks, we lose them in a hurry.
Exactly.
Right? And so, for instance, the numbers dwindle to less than half as you come to middle management and single digits as you come to the top management. This is a problem across the globe, and the reason for that is many. One big one is that as women go up the career, their biological clock and the career prime time in their career kind of coincides. And if organizations do not support them during that period, then it's a very difficult journey for women, as we all kind of understand. So there are certain systemic things that organizations can do, and there are some cultural issues that probably will take longer to fix.
Right.
Systemic things, for instance, are do we allow for non-linear career paths? Okay, so naturally in organizations there is, you move to the next level and the next level and the next level within the same vertical.
Sure.
And linear upward progression is considered growth.
Yes.
Women at times may need to step back, may need to take a break, may need to come back, therefore. And can they look at linear progressions, horizontal movements rather than, straight movements? So that's one,
Sure.
one important enablement that the organization can do.
Okay.
The second is, do we have active sponsorship
And that's
by
so important.
senior leaders?
Yeah.
So while you call mentoring and all of that, it's a weak term. Sponsorship is really to take charge of the women in high potential women in your team and sponsor them, be an active advocate for them behind closed doors,
Regardless of whether it's a male sponsor or a female
or a female sponsor. Really ensure their credibility, their competence is heard in places that matter, and when they are not in the room. And not enough of that really happens. So that's a.
Can I get your perspective on this, Lavneesh, as the male on the panel?
No, so I totally agree with Geeta. So, I've been with this experience within our teams as well. There's a lot of advertisement around that you need to have women diversity, and the fact of the matter is that in the last 10 years or so, and which has become a prominent topic. Having said that, personally, I've experienced that it's not about mentoring, it's about sponsorship, what Geeta mentioned. The reason is very simple, because till the time the person at the hem of things don't believe in sponsoring it, the objective will not be achieved. Second, I think resultant is that if you give that psychological safety to the lady or the woman in question, whether it is for the pregnancy time, whether some other issues at home, I think they're more committed. Being a male myself, I can tell you they're more diligent than a male person, and the experience in terms of attrition, in terms of building discipline in the business, and also the delivery is maybe about 1.3x of the male person who's being retained. And it's not purely as a number for the sake of the panel here, but it's been experience in what I've seen in last decade for the people who have worked in this system. So I think psychological safety plus sponsorship works the best. Than only purely, we talk about these numbers in a board or other discussions, but these are some facts which have come into light.
And it's good to know again that it is working.
Yeah.
So, Roni, as more women step into senior roles, how do you see their influence shaping decision making, risk taking, leadership styles within a large financial institution compared to before?
I think this has got evolved so much better now. If I have to even put the last point which you asked, leadership skills. If you look at it, it's become more inclusive. It's not all about decision making, it's more of inclusion coming together. So when we start seeing people organizing meetings, there are a lot of decisions and a lot of discussions where women stand up there and they invite a lot of diversified personalities to talk, diversified departments to collaborate and come together. And then eventually, when we start seeing all these things happening, their appetite to take risk through a lot of discussions has helped a lot. So they go more in depth, is what I have seen. And, because the impact is beyond boardroom, you also start seeing culturally the impact has been where women have come together and they have created an environment which is very cohesive for people to speak.
Nice.
And when they start talking, there are a lot of things flowing in, whether it is ideas or whether it is commitment levels. When you give them the opportunity of career and, giving discussions in terms of, whether you are in the right place. Those are the kind of things when leadership, as a woman, when the leadership happens, I think we have started seeing commitment levels going up. He just mentioned, Lavneesh just mentioned, saying that productivity is 1.3x. I think we can infuse that.
Wow.
So when you start seeing people coming on top from the women's side, I've seen a lot of collaboration happening.
So you're actually saying there's increased risk taking.
Yes.
Wow, that's phenomenal. So, Lavneesh, talking about frontline roles and growth-led roles, these are usually deemed to be the backbone of financial services. Now, how can organizations better enable women to access, sustain, succeed in these roles? And, as Saloni just mentioned, we are seeing the multiplier impact. So what does leadership look like through these opportunities, again, in your words?
Yeah, so I mean, again, to throw our data to the panel is about, let's look at McKinsey's 2025 report, which says, 1/3 of people are in frontline, and the final, which goes into the C-suite, is about 1/6.
Sure.
So it's 50% dilution as the person goes up the ladder. I think the evolution has to first evolve in terms of how many people are actual sponsors for it. It's not about just for scoring a brownie point and then you're looking at diversity.
Got it.
People externally speaking about it to score a brownie point, no, so then you'll not evolve. I think the experience of people who have looked at championing it and making it successful, apart from mentoring, I think sponsorship to deliver those numbers and the real examples with the results coming in will lead to the growth of the ladies cycle, the women's cycle in terms of coming to that hem. Apart from this, I think apart from championing, the person should be also, looked at how they can be well engaged at the time of, motherhood stage. Whether when they come back, what kind of roles have been given.
Sure.
If they go on sabbatical for that time frame, is the organization prepared for it? Do we evolve in terms of what kind of different roles which can be done for them so that they can, in the first 2-3 years, be evolved to handle those roles, and then at some point of time, how they can evolve into larger roles, which is the thing which has to be developed as an organization in us. And my view again remains very, very solid, is that the delivery is 1.3x, and it's a proven fact, and it's nothing which is not off the table.
Sure.
It's a thing which we need to work towards that.
So how can we see that? To what extent do you feel that the rate of participation can increase based on all these factors? I know it may still be an intangible or difficult to sort of put a number to it.
It's very difficult to put a number, Abhaya, but the today if 20% people are real sponsors,
Yes.
can that at least turn to about 50%?
Okay. That's what I
And
wanted to hear.
Yeah, so
Yes.
once that reach to that sponsorship level, both genders,
Yeah.
it's not only the male gender I'm talking about,
Sure.
the women gender also.
Yeah.
Certain times the women gender is more competitive than the male gender,
Yeah.
by the way. So in that sense, I'm saying that it should be 50% of the leader sponsorship, looking forward to grooming them to the next level.
Okay. This is great insight. Geeta, looking ahead, as technology, analytics, new ways of working redefine organization, what is one people or culture capability that we can talk about that institutions must invest in today to build a better tomorrow?
Yeah. So technology taking us by the storm is real. AI is a tectonic shift. Okay, we cannot close our eyes to the impact it is having on the way we live and work. So organizations will need to prepare for what the world, what is in store for us going forward. One very important culture capability is learning agility.
Okay.
To be able to unlearn things that we have learned in the past, the old ways of working will not will not serve us anymore. Technology will automate parts of your job that you were earlier taking pride in doing.
Yeah.
So while it will not replace people, it will certainly replace tasks. So as they say, AI will not replace jobs, but you will be replaced by somebody who can use AI very well. So we need to prepare people and learning agility, therefore, across the board, not just the junior people and middle management, but also making learning cool for the senior leadership, because they are the ones who eventually take the decisions.
Right.
From a women point of view, it has serious implications.
Okay.
Enough statistics will say that when technology infusion happens, women form the largest part of the bottom rung.
Okay.
And therefore, technology impacts their jobs directly. And that's true. Even during COVID, the number of women who lost jobs was significantly higher. So when huge transitions like this happen, women tend to get impacted a lot more.
Okay.
So we need to therefore be, doubly conscious of how we are ensuring that they stay in the workforce, that their capabilities are built for them to use technology and therefore stay in the game for longer. Another culture capability, which actually probably referred to the earlier question, but equally relevant now, is women wait to be 200% ready for a job. Whereas men put their hand up even when they are 50%, 75% ready for a job.
Yes.
Having a sponsor, and we have spoken about this many times, can bridge that gap in the woman's mind about when they can take that leap.
Got it.
I think providing that scaffolding for the women and in the workplace is a huge responsibility as organization will need to put up.
Do you find enough people willing to become sponsors?
Yeah, so like Geeta said, I think that's a very big psychological point. She said that the lady waits for about 200% to be sure to run into it. And you know what? The psyche of the male is to just jump in. Whether the guy doesn't even know the job, he will just jump in. Coming back to your question on sponsorship, yes, it's a fight.
Yeah.
If I look at, today when we decide about a panel, it's tough to find, right? It's the same issue when you go to regional leadership or a zonal leadership in terms of the geography. When you sit around for a table for lunch, you find one lady amongst 20 people. So the sponsorship begins from the people who are sitting on that table.
Yes.
And more so, also it's sometimes concerns of cultures based geography. It varies from one region to one city to the other place. So culturally, how you've been brought up,
Right.
things are coming up in the right stead. I guess over a period of time, the thrust and the data once starts speaking, and the delivery starts reflecting. I think is when you don't need to really push for sponsorships. So that's what.
Maybe there'll be some inflection point.
Yeah.
And there are other cultural biases,
Yes.
like when a woman asserts herself, she's judged more strongly than when strongly.
Some
Then-
of these are
Yeah, so
perennial problems. Yeah.
these are problems. I think we need to be just conscious that these unconscious biases exist and allow for different styles of leadership to thrive in the organization.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And that's really what inclusivity is all about.
Yeah.
Saloni, if you were advising the next generation of banking leaders today, what is the one mindset shift organizations must make to ensure this diversity and also to remain future ready? Resilience has become increasingly important and critical, particularly post-COVID.
Yeah.
So what would be the kind of advice or the kind of structures you'd like to see in place? I know we've talked a lot about policy and what's missing, but if you had to give advice to the next generation.
So, two things I can say. One is never wait to raise your hand. You should speak, whichever room you're in. I think you have a voice and you're capable. So, that's one thing I would say. And second, I think for the future ready, there is a point which is called potential to familiar and potential to different. So familiar means you take those people thinking that whether he fits into any of the experienced person, he's like this one, he's like that one. Those are the kind of things which, because there is an experienced army in any organization who is very confident, who has grown up the ladder, who has done brilliant years of services, and good people. But there is also this set of people who value adaptability,
Okay.
who have the learning abilities, and they are very strong on their feet wherever they are. We don't need to match them with the experienced. We can look at something different, and we should start doing it. And I'm sure we can build up the way bank wants or any organization wants to build them up. So that's what I could leave at.
Fantastic. So, Lavneesh, as insurance and banking continue to evolve together, any other shifts that you foresee in how organizations view talent, partnerships, and leadership, let's say over the next, I don't even want to say decade because things move so, they move so fast.
Yeah.
Yes. But maybe some trends that you're already seeing an inkling of or an indication of in terms of how things will evolve.
So, I think when I started the career, it was more relationship oriented driven, talking about that, building the trust. So it was very role based, relationship based kind of a situation. But in last 3-4 years, I'm seeing it's a tectonic shift from relationship orientation to how you're logical in terms of your conversations. And that's where I see a gap in a lot of people suddenly fish out of the water, because either like what Geeta mentioned and Saloni was alluding to, I think if people don't understand the fact that any repetitive task will be taken over by AI.
Right.
So somebody who's making business intelligence report, somebody making a management information report, whichever can be replaced can be done by AI. How do you become more intelligible by graduating yourself and learning what are the AI tools? I'm not saying that you're losing the job, but with your relationship skill, if you have this added skill, will definitely, you will be one of the talent hunt person across the domain over here. As the products are becoming more evolved, and more transparent what regulator wants and what the customer wants. I think the understanding of those products in terms of complexity, how to define, you have to invest that more time rather than only purely relationship based selling. I think those are the two things which will definitely help. And third is a small understanding of the technology, how it's working, so that you can operate the applications which you have, and you can also use them and make that useful for your customer interactions so that you are up to date. So I think more from a relationship towards data, technology, and logical enhancement, which is where the talent to will move. And it's not only for insurance and banking. I think it's across the sectors which will come into play.
All right, good to know what's in store for us and what we can expect going forward. With that, we come to the close of this episode of The Luminaries. I'm Abha Bakaya. It's been a pleasure moderating this conversation. My sincere thanks to Geeta George, to Saloni Bhatia, and to Lavneesh Gupta for sharing such thoughtful perspectives on people, culture, scale, and of course for giving us an insight into the kind of leadership and the thought leadership that we have at HDFC Life. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for watching.